Welcome to the POMcast with Steve Willis, your independent, unbiased, and unbought source for Ole Miss athletics. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis, on this November 12th, 2020, South Carolina week. Maybe. Doesn't seem to have problems yet, but I'm not going to get into the chicken counting business on this one. We've already had 4 games canceled. I've heard rumors of a potential of a 5th. But I mean, Vandy and Kentucky apparently I don't know. I've just heard that. It's just a rumor at this point. Who knows? But we're in a situation now to where this week is almost a total wash. The only schools that have not missed a game because of COVID now will be like 3-ish. Ole Miss and South Carolina are 2 of them playing Saturday in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Those are 2 coaches that have apparently handled this the best. Now, I do not believe that what is going on in Baton Rouge is legitimately COVID related. I think it's about sparing your feelings and understanding what is coming. That's what that game's about. That is entirely what that game's about, I think. That's just about knowing that a 65-0 is coming and trying to avoid it as long as possible. Possibly permanently. Because with that game being postponed, it's going to require so much work from the SEC office to get it rescheduled. Because Alabama's going to be in the championship game on the 19th. So it's going to require other teams to move and basically placate that. Which at this point, if you've done everything right, everything correct, and they're just worried about their feelings and playing a game, yes, I'm sure you will help the SEC in any way possible. I mean, what's going on in Baton Rouge is just ridiculous. It's to the point where I do not even believe COVID is an actual issue. They just don't want to play. What happened to put the ball down? We'll play anywhere. Put the ball down. It's all bluster. It always was. From a scared little boy, knowing that his whole world is about to collapse. What's going on in Baton Rouge is ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, let's change gears a little bit. You can follow us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis or at @OlePositively. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast or join our Facebook group at facebook.com. Just Positively Ole Miss. And of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell for notifications. That will serve you well in the coming months. And of course, if you're too young for YouTube, you can hit us up on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. All one word. If audio is more your thing, you can go to Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Pandora. And there's also some minor podcatchers out there that we're on as well. But if I named them all, we would be here this whole show just doing that. So listen to them. We're never going to extort you. We're never going to ask you to go to a second location. It doesn't matter if you like me. It only matters what I'm saying. And I hope that you can listen to the show and get a fun, unbiased perspective on Ole Miss football based on everything building for the future. What's going on now to what's going on next year is more of the syllabus of the show than always taking a single data point and just stretching that out to infinity and basing all of your takes off of. It's a wrong, misleading thing, and honestly, it's the reason Ole Miss has been mired since 1962. We've got to break that cycle. We need to build. Everybody pull the rope in the same direction. And to do that, we have to understand what the actual problems are so we can all meet them together. That's what we're doing. That's the purpose of this podcast. And whenever we go video and have a TV show and do that, that's going to be the purpose of that. It's going to be everything about building the Ole Miss program. It's about calling out people that will be bad actors to the Ole Miss program and letting you know that. And letting you know why. I'm not just going to say fake news. I'm going to back it up. But there is a situation happening in Ole Miss football where there's an information void. It's charged. It's at a premium that everybody should have access to. They don't at the moment. There's an access to get in. And what you're seeing is people that don't have money not able to get in. So therefore, attendance is dwindling. Interest is dwindling. It's my responsibility, I think, because I'm in the position I'm in, to make this a non-issue, to at least cover the Ole Miss portion to where, as everybody else goes down, there's a way to rise Ole Miss up. Always free at Positively Ole Miss. There's no such thing as pay to play. And this is all, like I said, this whole format and everything we do is practice for what's coming down the road. And what's coming down the road is a ton of guests, highly produced television shows, highlights of Ole Miss. All of that will be on the table. We will make it to where you can follow Ole Miss on demand. And we will have the freedom to go into recruiting that they can't go into themselves. So that's segment one of the POMcast. Thanks for listening. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen. As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at activeforlife.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, POMcast, Stephen Willis, segment 2 of the day. Thanks for joining us right here, coming at you on, I wish we had call numbers, I really do, like 102.9 Positively Ole Miss, right here. All right, so enough fun, basically. Having a good time in here, talking to myself. It's all good stuff. So this week, we're dealing with a little bit of a COVID apocalypse in the SEC. And we're dealing with teams that I believe are pushing up the COVID and making it seem like COVID so that they can not play the game. And I think that's going on in Baton Rouge at the moment. And, I mean, there's roster limits that was put into play. Lane Kiffin moved people around so that those roster limits would be less likely to be hit. I mean, that's what he did. That was his philosophy. And Ole Miss and South Carolina, I would put Arkansas in that category, but they lost Sam Pittman this week. So I'll say Ole Miss and South Carolina have handled this the best of any program in the West. Ole Miss had their little outbreak. And for a couple of weeks was pretty nerve-wracking, but they got games in. And I mean, that's what this year is about, getting games in. And next year, whenever, Positively Ole Miss goes video, we're in the palatial Central Florida studios and all of that jazz, you can look at the fact that we're getting ready to get back into real football. We called this on this show the longest spring practice in the history of the man, and this is very developmental. I mean, people want this to be like normal, and they're trying to will it to be like normal, and all that is happening is people are getting sick. That's the same thing with this election. They're trying to will it not to happen. Well, it happened. You need to be a grown-up, get over it, and take the L and move on with your life like everything else. Or this COVID situation nationally, trying to will it not to exist. Well, it doesn't work that way. But if you take a program in a 10-game developmental spring, basically what we're in, and they are willing to play competitive games with COVID, it's just straight cowardly. It's a lot of, put the ball down, and it feels like they're just trying to run away. It's just bad. But when you look at this, we have LSU versus Alabama, and I've covered LSU today more than I wanted to. You've got Missouri at Georgia. Missouri is the at-fault team. I think Georgia might be on the team that hasn't missed as well. I think they're in the same way. They haven't missed as well, so they've handled it pretty well. Tennessee and Texas A&M. Texas A&M is the outbreak school, whatever you want to call. Mississippi State at Auburn. Both schools are having problems. So, also, I want to say that we are officially in the time frame, barring the SEC rescheduling it. But if a positive test comes back Monday, they miss the Egg Bowl. I just wanted to pause right there for you to take that in. If we have a positive test Monday, they miss the Egg Bowl. So we're pretty close to time for things to get real. Now, I think what you're seeing at Ole Miss is a bunch of guys that are taking classes online and going to the facility and going to home and doing nothing in between. And that's fine. That's probably the way you need to handle this. But there's always a way that contact tracing could come into the play. It could decimate it. Now, I think, I think that Ole Miss is going to be fine. I mean, obviously. But I think they're going to move that game to December 19th, the same day of the SEC championship game. Because I think they're going to go above and beyond and bend over backwards to put Alabama versus LSU on the schedule, because I think the conference is pissed off at LSU for doing it. And they should be. They absolutely should be. But that's the way this goes. I mean, I think for the last segment of the show today, I might put in the pick segment from around the SEC, so y'all can get a little preview of that. A little bit of extra. There's not a lot to talk about this week because so many teams are canceling. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from basketball season. We could talk about Pavilion Madness and Marshall Henderson winning the ultimate three-point shooting contest. So that's interesting. There's video of that around, so you can see that. But there's just not a lot to really talk about. I mean, we picked 3 games on around the SEC. Again, 4 is officially postponed at this point. A 5th is in danger, apparently, rumors say. It could all be fake news, and they could be making it up, but that's what they're saying. And, I mean, what can we do? You know, what's out there? And this COVID thing next week with Texas A&M, Ole Miss is in danger of losing that game because of Texas A&M out this week. If you do the math of the players that are out, it's going to carry over. So there's a chance that Texas A&M is on December 12th and Mississippi State is on December 19th, and you know, you just don't play the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which would be good for me. But I'm just saying. So we're sitting here on November 12th. We've made it through to November 12th. I mean, we started at the end of September. We've gotten a good distance into this, and they're trying to figure out how to wrap it up. And the SEC has almost wrapped this up. Once you get to December 19th, you can wipe your hands of it and be done. But we'll see. The fact that teams are using COVID as more of an excuse than an actual reason is pretty boy who cried wolf. It's going to piss a good number of people off. Again, that's a rumor that hasn't been confirmed. I'm not going to try and confirm it, but that's the rumor. So, we just have to get through this weekend and hope the next week gets better. Because, like we told you, celebrate the positives, ignore the negatives. Because if you focus on the negatives, you will be absolutely miserable and it will kill your mental health. So, celebrate the positives, ignore the negatives, and you can make it kind of to wherever we need to go, which right now is about May, honestly, and just a do-over for this year. And I think we're going to get there. That's the thing that people need to realize. As you can see right now, it is trending towards an incredibly dark time in U.S. history. an incredibly dark time. Now, this was planned in the White House and their herd immunity thing that they're not talking about, but every hospital, every ICU in the country, hospitalizations are at the highest point they've been throughout all of this. This is going to be bad. We might be able to save a couple of lives because we figured out how to treat it. But this is going to be bad. And you just need to be patient. But once we get through this, and once we get to January 20th, where this is actually going to be fought in an organized, real way for the first time, there's a chance for this to go away. The vaccine is due the middle of next year too. So for the next 6 months until about next May, it's going to be rough. But after that, we can start to get back to a semblance of normal life, whatever that is. For me, that's really no different than the pre-COVID life. I like to stay home. That's what I do. But that's kind of the point. So just be patient. Celebrate the positives. Look till next year. Think of hope. Anything that you can point to that's like, hey, in 2021, we need bam, bam, bam. That's the best way to do this. All right. Stephen Willis, POMcast. Stick around.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
Welcome back to Around the SEC. It's picks time. What few games we have to pick this week, but we're going to pick all three of them if they all last. Hopefully we don't lose any between now and Saturday. South Carolina is getting 11 points versus Ole Miss and Oxford. I'm taking the Rebs. I just don't think that South Carolina is going to be able to score enough points to cover.
Yep, I agree. I took Ole Miss as well. I think South Carolina will put some points on the board, but Ole Miss is going to put a whole lot more.
And South Carolina's done. I don't see any chance of them covering the spread, much less winning. Give me the Rebs in this one. I think they're going to roll and roll big.
And, of course, Becky took Ole Miss as well. We have Vandy getting 17 points at Kentucky this weekend. This is a kind of a hard game to pick. I went with Vandy last week. I thought they would – I didn't think Mississippi State was 19 points better than anybody. But Kentucky, when they're owned, they can score – and their defense is good enough to shut Vandy down. I'm taking Kentucky.
And this, for me, might be more of a hope than actual feeling that actually happened. But I feel like I want Vandy to come out and really play hard and maybe take this game. So I'm taking Vandy to cover.
It's so tempting to take Vandy to cover, but as pitiful as they've been all year long, minus the first game, I'm going to go with the old until they show me they can cover a spread or much less win. I'm going to continue to pick against them. I have no reason to Kentucky showed me a little bit against Georgia. I mean, they can certainly run the ball. They've been able to do that all year long. Now Joey Gatewood brings another dimension to the pass game for Kentucky, and I think that they're going to exploit Vandy a little bit. And I think it's going to be an ugly, ugly, ugly day. Vandy's given up a season high in points for each opponent. So everybody that's played Vandy has scored their season high in total points. So you got to go with the Wildcats here, right?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that Becky is going with Vandy as well. So it's like a double Beecham family Vandy party going on this weekend. And the last game, Arkansas getting 17.5 points versus Florida. I wanted to take the Hogs. I just couldn't take the Hogs because Florida looked so good last week.
Yeah, and as much as we talked about Arkansas's defense actually playing pretty well, Florida's offense has just been playing out of their minds. I'm taking Florida to cover until they prove to me they can't.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against Florida. I mean, I think Arkansas is gonna give them a nice physical contest. This point spread 17.5 is very, very, very tempting for me to pick the Hogs, but this is one of those that is on the verge of getting kiboshed. Pit boss Sam Pittman has the Rona, and I'm sure it's gonna start springing up amongst their locker room. So I have a hard time believing they're going to be. This is going to be one of those games where, the circumstances will dictate that Florida's going to blow them out, and people are going to get the false sense of, well, Arkansas, okay, their magic has run out. It hasn't run out. They're just dealing with the Roni, and they've got a lot of people out, I'm sure, or they're going to. I would imagine, but all the distractions, nonetheless. I'm gonna take Florida in this one, even though it's so tempting to pick Arkansas.
Yes, and Becky did actually pick Arkansas this weekend. Thanks to everybody for joining us this week. Be patient with our schedule over the next couple of weeks through the POMcast and around the SEC, as there's a situation brewing that I will tell you about in the coming weeks. But thank you very much. And I will, for Corey Burton and Jeb Beecham, we'll see you next week.
Spoiler alert, Steve becomes a Florida fan.
That's probably a deal breaker to my wife.
Yeah, I hope so.
To me too.